The 8th Gen Civic SI debuted for the 2006 model year. Back then, it was on top of the class. Since then, it's become a bit of a nostalgic symbol. It represents an era of small, sporty cars that we just don't have anymore. So, that being said, does this car make sense to buy now? Stay with me for a little bit and find out. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel so you can help me take this to the next level. Thank you. Now back to the review. This car is from 2007. When it came out, it had a futuristic design. Paint aside, I actually like the way this thing looks. The differences between the SI and the regular car, they were more subtle. Little difference here in the front bumper with different kind of fog lights. You have different rims, you got a little spoiler. This separates the SI from the omnipresent Civic, but it allows it to still appear mature, somewhat. The short and low front end is unique, as is the eloquent cheese wedge-shaped side profile of the front half of the car. That short front end makes working on the SI a process that is ridden with profanity. A little more breathing room in the engine bay would have been nice. Coming around the side, we see our 17-inch alloy rims that come standard on the SIs of this year, the 07 to be exact. This is the first year of the sedan, by the way. We got 215 tires, which they're wide enough, they get the job done. Kind of large windows, so you have pretty decent visibility. Coming around the rear of the vehicle, we see a really subtle spoiler. One of my favorite additions to this car, just, you know, slight cosmetic change that really does make a difference. You got a squared off rear end, more bad paint. The paint is so bad on these things. And then you got a real exhaust tip down here. Look at that. Yeah. Well, let's hop inside. The interior of the 8th Gen Civic SI is probably my favorite interior that Honda made in the 2000s. It was kind of futuristic, different. It didn't look like many other interiors that had come out at that time period, especially for a small car. Highlights include the 2-tier dash, which was done very well, much better than I think they did in following models. You had this big tachometer. It was just a very simple layout. Looked like a crotch rocket or something. It was really cool. You have this kind of small steering wheel with the little silver crappy looking accents. The fit and finish is not all that good. Some panels don't line up. The glove box kind of droops a little bit. See some cloth hanging out. Ergonomically, your handbrake is right there. It's super close. It doesn't take up much space. The shifter is not that far from the steering wheel. Instead of blue or white instrumentation like other 8th Gen Civics, you get red instrumentation in the SI, along with the red stitching and an SI logo on the seats, just to let you and your occupants know that this is the ornery Civic. The space is exceptional up front. Headroom, legroom, hip room, it's all there. The seats are 6-way adjustable, but they do not have lumbar and they are not power. The lumbar was a little bit of an issue, but I kind of got used to that. The seats themselves have great bolstering. I think they're ideal for being the sporty little car that it is. Also, hinged gas pedal. I don't know what it's called actually, but it's got a hinge at the bottom. It's kind of cool. I don't really have that many complaints. I mean, obviously it's not going to compare to anything new, but it's better than anything I would have expected out of this era and this price point. Main issues are just longevity of it. I've had a few things break, like the visor. And my driver's door refuses to hold open, even on flat ground. My headliner is falling apart, and my seats shake a little bit. These are a few things that stick out as wrong with the interior. There's also the usual wear and tear, but it isn't too excessive. To end on a good note, there are moderately soft places to rest your elbows, and there are lots of usable cubbies in the Civic. Very nice. Let's hop in the back, see how I fit. The Jetta of this year, like the Jetta GLI, is gonna have more space. I mean, I could move the front seat up some, so like if you do have rear seat passengers, and they would probably be fine back here. I wouldn't worry too much about them. The seats are at least soft and cushy. I have just enough headroom where I can sit back and be fine. It's mainly just an issue of legroom, but I'm 6'3". You do have at least padded armrests. It's nice. You don't have vents. You only have a map pocket on the passenger side. You do have cubbies. Got some big door ones. All right, I want to get out. The trunk space is more than adequate. I have 2 obnoxious subwoofers back here, and I can fit. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I can still fit. So I took this car to California, and there was 2 people total. We fit camping gear, sleeping bags, clothes, tent, all that in the trunk and shut it. It did a great job. I'm not even gonna say cubic feet because it doesn't matter. Let's drive it. What people care about most with the Civic SI is often performance. This had 197 horsepower and it made it way up at 7,800 RPM. And then it had 139 pound-feet of torque, which it made all the way up at 6,100 RPM, which is crazy high for torque, if you guys know what that means. So overall, it's peppy. I wouldn't call it punchy. Response is not the greatest. You punch it 3rd gear, you gotta wait. And then you get VTEC. And man, when you get there, whoo, it develops this noise, this beautiful, raw, induction sound. It's hard for any new car to make this noise. I don't hear it anymore, especially in the new Civic SI, and that was one of my larger complaints about the 10th gen that just came out in 2017.
Of course, that 10th gen has boatloads more torque than this, which makes it feel more responsive. It also gets way better gas mileage. I struggled to get 18 or 19 miles per gallon in the city, which, when combined with its premium fuel requirement, makes for a wallet-killing combo. Another place where the SI falls a little short is ride quality.
I mean, it's a trade-off because this obviously doesn't have adaptive suspension of any sort. So they tuned this to be sporty. They tuned this to be fun on a back road, which it is. Your daily driving, now, it doesn't beat you up like, for instance, I drove the Ford Focus RS, the newer WRXs. I put this online with the WRX. Oh, whenever you get to any bumps, you're gonna have a bad time. Plus, it makes noises. It's got 140,000 miles, so you would kind of expect it, but it kind of crashes over most bumps. It's not ideal.
It's fitting as an enthusiast daily driver. However, the GTI and GLI are more civilized in my opinion. What those cars can't beat the Civic at is the feel of the manual transmission.
And here we have a 6-speed manual transmission. It is the only option. There's no automatic. This is an easy car to learn on. So if somebody was considering this for a first car, I would really advise them to check your insurance because it's gonna be expensive. But if you wanted to learn manual, this is a great car. The clutch is very, very predictable. It's linear. You feel what's going on. It's got the correct amount of weight, not too light, not too heavy, pretty short travel. Shifts are nice, short throws, very satisfying. It just like almost clicks through the gears. It's probably my favorite part of this car is just how satisfying it is to shift through the gears.
I'll talk about some of the transmission's flaws later. First, let's talk about the bad noise and the bad noise. The bad noise I'm referring to here is road noise. There's a decent amount. Insulation wasn't too great, and aggressive gearing makes it get buzzy on the highway.
I'm going 69 right now, and we are revving at 3,000, a little bit over 3,000 RPMs. You kind of need to take this into account because if you're ever just, taking a long journey, which I have done, I've driven across the country in this car.
It becomes a background nuisance. You will get used to it, but I notice a drop in sound whenever I drive most other vehicles. Now, let's hear the bad noise.
Oh, yes! right up to the 8,300 RPM redline. Listen to that.
VTEC comes in at around 6,000 RPM and it really howls. It's my favorite sounding 4-cylinder, but can it match that sound with speed? Let's shut off traction control and find out. I did a run with a new Jetta manual and it was within a half second of my SI to 60, except the Civic is so dramatic that it felt quicker than that 7.8 second result. My test was a real world test, but I still had a solid launch and quick shifts, so why was it still kind of slow? Well, a lot of people don't factor this, but my car has high mileage and engines lose power over time. And if I didn't have to lug around 250 pounds in the car, then it would have been a bit quicker, but that's not the point of this car. I'm sorry, fellow Honda bros. This could have been the lighter coupe model with Ken Block at the wheel, and a new Accord 2.0T would still gap this thing, even on the highway. If you really want more oomph, modifications exist and you have a lot to choose from with the 8th gen. Plus, there's a great online community there to help you along the way.
You know, it's not that fast. Did a highway pull in a WRX once, almost won. It's not that fast. I mean, you could add like, you know, a lot of people put like superchargers on it. Turbocharge it, bro. I'm on eBay right now. Come on. How much is a catback exhaust? Yeah, fuck it. I'll just straight pipe it. I'm sure. Did you put on headers yet? Back to what I was saying, this thing isn't quick. Nothing's wrong with that. It's fast enough where you can be entertained. You can really enjoy rowing through the gears. And it's a close ratio gearbox, so you are shifting a lot. And I like that. I want to shift a lot.
For those who are on the fence about mods, a stock 8th gen falls in the sweet spot between too slow for fun and too fast to stay out of trouble. But where the SI really shines bright is through the corners.
This thing is just so fun. The differential pulls you out of corners since it's a limited slip, a mechanical limited slip at that. You know, it's fairly easy to heel toe. Body rotation is great, especially for a front wheel drive car. It stays very neutral. On occasion, you'll even get some rear end step out, but very balanced around here. Body roll is kept to a minimum due to that pretty stiff suspension. There's still a little bit present, which I prefer. It gives it a little bit more character, kind of like an older Miata, you know?
The steering is better than most. There is a slight vagueness on center, making it not as tight as some of what I've felt from, say, Mazda or some German sports sedans. The electric power steering has an appropriate weight to it. It's not too heavy or light, but just right. It doesn't offer tons of feel, but I think it has more feedback than most modern sporty cars do. However, I believe the new SI has tighter steering, better weight, better dampening, and better body control to make it overall more capable than my little Civic. But the 8th gen can still get down, and it's arguably more fun.
It's just one of those cars that, you know, you want to find some time in your day to just, you know, go out, find somewhere and have a little bit of fun. And it's reliable. The K20 engine is very, very well built. It's certainly known for being a solid partner. The manual transmission in it does have third gear synchro issues. Literally, it will pop the gear lever out of place, which is a little disconcerting. And they later pin this issue on Honda themselves. It usually happens when I'm just regularly driving it. I'll put it in gear, maybe not perfectly straight or something, and it'll just pop it right back out.
So some previous owners are going to beat the snot out of these things, causing it to grind into second if you don't drive it perfectly or shift early. There are ways to help this, but that's a different video. Reliability is good, but not great overall. The K20Z3 is pretty bulletproof as I mentioned before, but other things aren't. I've replaced numerous parts, and the paint,
Well, the paint can go straight to hell. Has the car ever left me stranded though? No. Am I confident that it will make it another 100,000 miles? Yeah. All things considered, after research, I would place the cost to maintain of an 8th Gen SI as lower than a similar year GTI, GLI, WRX, or Mazda Speed 3. So if you're looking for a sub 8 or 10 grand sporty car, I would happily recommend this for 2 reasons. The first, it's more fun than pretty much any reliable practical car at this price point. The second, and this is more important, the 8th Gen SI marks the end of an era. They don't make affordable cars that rev like this anymore. The sounds are natural and entertaining, the gauge cluster looks cartoony, the transmission offers so much feedback that it could write a book, and it handles almost like an extension of the driver. The car as a whole is beautifully simple with just enough modern amenities to make it safe and reasonable to live with. In another decade or so, 8th Gens will be so old that many examples will be impractical to daily drive. The generations that followed it still offer a fun experience, but it's just not the same. Eventually, electric will take over, and this is a future we should embrace, as I'm sure there will still be fun options out there. But a manual transmission option will be gone or almost non-existent, and a car that offers a simple connection from the driver to the road will be scarce. That's why the 8th Gen Civic SI is worth purchasing now. It isn't perfect by any standards, but it's something that you can live with today that gives you a positive experience mostly found in the past. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.